This week's subject, we'll learn about a concept which is, I guess you could say it's famous, but there's always what to elaborate, to speak about. There's the famous Maimer Chazal that Yidden were redeemed from Mitzrayim in the merit of Amunah, of faith. Like it says, Vayamin Ha'am, that Yidden believed that Moshe Rabbeinu was going to take them out of Mitzrayim. The same thing it says that that in the future redemption, the Yidden are going to be redeemed in the merit of in the merit of faith. And really, the Medrash goes on and speaks many things that faith brings. That it brings Ruach HaKodesh, and the whole mile of Avram is that he was, the Munah, and so on and so forth. So there's a number of Nakudas to speak about, so understanding the idea that Amunah brings the Geula. So, first of all, one of the simple interpretations of the Maimer Chazal, what does it mean, the Schus HaMudah? It's in the merit of Amunah. So you could learn it in two ways, not necessarily different, but they're two separate points. One is that the Amunah in the redemption, they were redeemed because they had faith that they will be redeemed. Another thing is that it's the faith in the Eibishter. In other words, it's not just the faith, the particular faith in the particular faith in the Geula in of itself, but it's also speaking about in general the idea of Amunah, that when a Yid has belief in the Eibishter, so then that brings the Geula. Now, there's many different aspects here, but I want to focus on there's a few points. So first of all, there's a similar Nekuda that's brought in the Medrash. The Medrash says it's a Chidah. The Rebbe spoke about this with a very big shturim, and there's sources already in the Medrash that if all the Yidden have is just the schar of kivui, schar of hoping and awaiting for Moshiach, that itself they deserve to be redeemed. That's why the Chidah, wherever he explains, we say at Samach Tav Ad Chamiris at Smiach, Kil Shuas Chakvinu Chalayim, David should bring Mashiach because we await your salvation the whole day. What does it mean because? Simply, you could say because we await, so that's why we're desperate, so bring it. But it seems from the reading of the words that's an asinas tam. Why should the Eibush bring Mashiach? Not just you should bring Mashiach because we need Mashiach, but because we're hoping for it. So it says that even if Yidden don't have any other schus, just as schus that they hope for Mashiach, for that itself they should be redeemed. So some Mefarshim Takis explain this meaning, the same meaning here of the Maimer Chazal, that the exiles will be gathered in the merit of belief. It's that even just the belief itself in Mashiach, that itself speeds up the redemption. That itself makes it should be redeemed. There is the way, however, the Rebbe explains. There's a whole deeper dimension going on, but I'll get to that a little bit later. It's not just stam. There's the Maimer Chazal that the hope, the anticipation, Mashiach speeds it up. In this particular Maimer Chazal, the Rebbe explains it a little bit much more on a much deeper level, and in the avoid in the service of a person. Before I get to that, I just want to go over some of the explanations of this Maimer Chazal. First of all, the Maral Miprak discusses this Maimer Chazal in a few places, and he explains, using the Maral style of explanation, he gives a few explanations why the Yidden are redeemed in the merit of Amunah. And he says two basic points. First basic point is that somebody that has faith, by definition, cannot be subjugated to someone else. Someone, he has no faith. He has no faith. He's up for grabs, and he's the wind, wherever the wind blows, he'll follow. Someone that has faith. What does it mean he has faith? Someone that has faith means he's connected to something that's eternal, something which is more powerful than whatever is happening. Such a person, in other words, so to say philosophically, is not deserving, or is not able to be meshubad, he's not able to be subjugated to anything, because the only thing that could be subjugated to something else is someone that has no self his own strength and he doesn't stand on his own 2 feet, that someone else could come and and subjugate him and enslave him. Someone that has faith in the Eibishter means someone that he has a chizuk. His kiyum hametzias, his existence stands strong. Above
seichel.
Huh?
Above seichel.
What?
Money is above seichel.
That's another nukud, a separate nukud. But just here it explains in philosophical terms that the whole idea of shibud, of subjugation, only applies to someone that doesn't have a strong existence. Someone that believes in the Eibush, automatically he's not in his soul, so to say. He can't be subjugated. It's what the Frierdiker Rebbe said. That in the neshama side, when the souls are never put into exile. Somebody that believes, how could it be subjugated to someone else? He exists in such a strong, powerful way. How could someone else subjugate him? That's one idea. Yeah. It's similar. What it reminds me of, although the Maral I don't think connects it here, but it reminds me of the famous explanation, a concept of the Maral, which Rebbe mentioned, I think, also, that why, when we celebrate Yetzias Mitzrayim, that we were taken out of exile. What was accomplished that we were taken out of the exile of Mitzrayim? After we left Mitzrayim, so we were again, after the destruction of the first Beis Hamikdash, we were subjugated. The second Beis why we celebrate every year Yetzias Mitzrayim, and every day we remember it. So he says, the Maral says a very fundamental thing. He says, a true slave makes peace with the fact that he's a slave. Whatever he's going through, he accepts it. He thinks, this is, what better could I ask for? Says a Yid can never make peace with whatever suffers. Deep down in his soul, he can never feel that he truly deserves or truly belongs in this place of exile. So that happened by Yetzias Mitzrayim, and he says, became a B'nai Chem, became free. What that became free? In your soul, you feel free. In other words, you can never make peace with a Jew deep down, whatever suffering he's going through, but it bothers him because really, in essence, he's free. Really, in essence, he doesn't feel this is who he is. So if he can't tolerate the opposite of freedom. So it reminds me, it's not the same word that Maral says here, but there's a word that when you're free, when you are connected, when you have your own existence, how could you be subjugated to someone else? So if you didn't believe in the Eibishter, so that's then he says another interesting nekuda. The second point that he says is that belief means you're completely connected with the Eibishter. Why does it mean you're completely connected to the Eibishter? When you understand, says your understanding is your own understanding. When you believe is higher than understanding. Where does belief come from? He doesn't use mamish these words, but it seems to me he's going along these lines. Belief comes not from you really. Belief comes from the Eibishter. Why does he believe? If he believes because his intellect, tells him that he should believe, his intellect, got convinced that he should believe, so he's believing. His intellect, I don't even know what you call belief, he understands, he came to that realization. The fact that a Yid believes, Al Rebbe explains in Tanya, is because the Eibishter shines in his neshama. It's not something that he, that intellect, it's an intellectual process that he reached, some type of understanding. So the belief means that he's connected to the Eibishter. That's what he believes. So if you're connected to the Eibishter, how could anyone subjugate you? How could anyone put you on galus? How could you be enslaved to anyone else? So it's interesting. He connects it. He connects it also. There's a saying of the Chacham that whoever answers Amen is greater than the one that makes the bracha. Someone blesses the Eibishter before he eats something, makes a bracha, and someone answers Amen. The one that says Amen is greater. Why? He says one that thanked the Eibishter, bracha means he understands the Eibishter gave him the sample. He should thank the Eibishter for it. It's a recognition, intellectual recognition. Someone that says Amen doesn't have a belief. If the one that answers Amen, he's representing the concept of belief that's higher than intellect. So he's even higher than the one that made the bracha. So this is the other point why Amunah is the breaks galus. When a Yid believes, so he's connected with the Eibishter. Connected to the Eibishter, how could you be in galus? This is the point that the Maral explains. Yeah. He uses that, he explains a number of things. It says that Emunah brings Ruach HaKodesh. If you believe in the Eibishter, the Ruach HaKodesh lessons explain the same way. When you have Emunah connected to the Eibishter, I think he explains a number of points along these lines. So there's Emunah B'chlal. It says, the Rebbe explains in the Sikha, that when he's... That's true. But in the recognition of the Eibusher, there's a level where there's logic, but then there's a level that's higher than logic. So now the Chassidus explained there's certain things that a Yid could so to say, could call that it's it's within intellectual grasp, it's intellectual recognition that, so to say, the logic dictates. And then there is, however, there's this idea of belief. Emunah is higher. True Emunah, where Seichel ends, is where Emunah begins. You understand? So if a person just knows about the Eibusher mitzad logic, he's connecting to the Eibusher. He's not. You don't know for sure he's connected to the Eibusher. It's his logic understands the Eibusher. When you see he believes in a way that's higher than logic, that means that his neshama is connected with the Eibusher. So if neshama is connected to the Eibusher, how is he shaykh to be subjugated to someone else? Absolutely, we'll get to that a little bit later. But I'm discussing that's true. But in this particular word, in every word, you have to keep the context of each particular idea within its frame. You're saying it's true, we'll soon see that. There's another interesting explanation which Bechal has nothing to do with Amunah and the Eibush there, but one of the Mefarshim, he says that the Gemara says in Shabbos, lists a number of things why the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. So one of them was that people weren't honest. In Hebrew, Amona, Anshe Amona, meant that they trust that word. So he says that he connects having Amunah, not only Amunah and the Eibush, but also Pasha being honest between fellow man. So obviously everything is saying things. So it says that if the way the Mefarish reads it, if not having trust from one man and his fellow leads to destruction, how much more so having faith, I guess, in the Eibushin, how much more so people could trust each other. I mean, not how much more. In other words, that also includes people trust each other, brings the redemption. There are other nekudas here. Before I get to the Rebbe's beer, Al Pi Chassidus to say. So you have Pshat Eini Son Ligon Al B'Schus Hamuna. I mean, this is the explanations of Chassidus all really are connected with the avoid of a person. They manifest itself within the person's avoid. They have one nekuda, which is the Bechal, the Indian of when Eden were in Galus. What does the Galus represent? So one of the ideas discussed in Chassidish Yisronim that Galus represents is that there's no recognition of the Eibush, there's no Gili Elokus. When Yid believes in the Eibush there, so then in other words, Galus is the idea where godliness is concealed. Belief in the Eibush means that godliness is revealed. So Mamela, the Geula brings the Galus. You have, for example, the whole by Mitzrayim, the Yidden, they needed to reach a point of a Yamin Ha'am, that Elokus was revealed in their consciousness in the way that they believed. That is where the Geula began. So in other words, it's more of, the way I would take it is more an avodah and in the service of a person, that where does he reach the level of redemption in his soul, is the idea of Amunah. Belief means he went out of himself. He's able to relate to the Eibishter. When a person, the whole idea of Golus B'chlal, it says, whatever, you haven't, I don't know so much in Chabad Sfarim, but in other sources, even earlier sources, you have that idea that the Das is in Golus, that understanding of the Eibishter, the realization the Eibishter runs the world, that's in Golus. You have really a word in the Tzemach Tzedek. In Tzchutei Torah, he mentions a word. He says that any soul in Golan, that Yidna Redin was Chus Amunah. There, Mamish discussing the avoid of a person. Says that a Yid he's in a Golos. He's not discussing necessarily the physical Golos, but the spiritual Golos. He has Daigas Hapranos. He has worries about monetary worries, other worries, and he's in the exile in his own soul. So how does he get redeemed? Is in the Chus of Amunah when he meditates how the Eibishter, the whole world is, he goes through the whole world is completely nullified. The Eibishter runs the whole show. So that takes him out of his personal, Golus, his exile, where he has this problem, that problem, and so on and so forth. There's another twist here also, which some Sfarim explain, is that Ein Yisrael Gonal B'Schus Hamunah means that when you believe that everything is really coming from the Eibishter, everything is really good, that itself reveals the good. Similar to what we had in Tanya a little while back, in chapter 11. Huh? Askil Chabina, yeah. So, they say that someone, he had problems, monetary problems, he didn't know what to do. So he asked and said, we have a meaning. We open up a sefer, a holy book, and whatever it says, we do. So he opened up the Tanya, says, take a Tanya, open up. So he opens up, he says, I open up the chapter 11.
Chapter 11.
11 means bankruptcy. So chapter 11 of Egaras HaKodesh is a famous chapter, Laskil Chabina, where he explains how nothing is really bad, everything is good. Yeah. And he finishes off that when you believe that everything is good, so with this truth, with this belief, so you reveal the hidden good, and what appears to become bad, even in a revealed way, becomes good.
It says reveal or transform?
I don't know, you could bring in Tanya, we could check. Could be uses the word transform, but Polak and the Teichen, and the content of what he's saying, and the content of what he's saying is that it's not really bad. And the whole contents of the letter is that it's not bad.
Transform our perspective,
so when you transform your perspective, you see that. Anyway, so so this is also more, I would say, more relates to a person's own avodah when he looks and he comes to the realization that everything comes from the Eibishter. So then, through that, he gets redeemed. In other words, from the particular problem. When you believe that everything comes from the Eibishter, so you bring everything back to its source, to Elikos, and there everything is good. These are the different, more or less, the different explanations that are out there. The Rebbe, in your nefesh, in other words, yeah. The Rebbe speaks of. You reveal, in other words, the reason why down here it appears that it's bad is because down here you don't see in a revealed way its connection to the way it's above. When you believe, and your belief permeates you, so then you're connecting whatever you see down here with its source above. When that connection takes place, so then it gets revealed even down here, how the thing is really good. Now, the Rebbe speaks about this Maimer Chazal in a few places. There's one Sikh in Chela Gimel, in Kudei Sichas Chela Gimel in Parshas Boi, and the Rebbe explains. The Rebbe has a whole long arichas over here. The Rebbe explains and the way the Rebbe touches it up over here. You see, there's a whole deeper dimension. What does it mean that the Gula is in the merit of Emunah, of faith? The Rebbe explains that before the Yidden left Mitzrayim, there were a number of things that took place. First of all, we find that the Yidden were redeemed because of Emunah, right? Because Vayaminam, the Yidden believed. Yeah, I discussed this before. Yeah, that even if it didn't only have the merit of hope. So in this Sikha, the Rebbe adds a deeper dimension here. I mean, it doesn't take away from that Maimer Chazal, but there's a deeper word that the Rebbe explains over. The Rebbe says that the Rebbe focuses on three things. It's really two categories of things. There's the merit of faith, with which Yidden were redeemed, and then there was the merit of the blood of the Korban Pesach, the sacrifice, Pesach sacrifice, and the blood of circumcision, the blood of the Bris Milah. And the Rebbe explains that the faith of Yidden in Mitzrayim was higher than nature. According to nature, it was an iron curtain. It was not shaykh that any slave should ever get out of Egypt. So the Yidden...
They were very tired, and they said that they were not believed because they were tired, and they were...
V'lo shamu al Moshe. V'lo shamu al Moshe. V'lo shamu al Moshe. That says Vayamin ha'am, they believe. V'lo shamu al Moshe means they couldn't digest the words. It still says they believe. Listening, they're very different things.
No, the first time, Vayaminum, Moshe and Aaron came and they showed them the miracles. Vayamin
But that's
home.
the way the Shalosh Mechayla.
Vayamin home. They believe. Yeah, they believe.
Yeah.
Later on, it says Moshe Rabbeinu came back to Hashem, Loma Reis or Loma Zeh. So Hashem told him another thing to tell the Yidden. Velishomel Moshe Mekoytze Ruach HaMavida Kosher. Now they didn't believe, they didn't hear. I mean, in the Torah, that's where it's two times. Two separate times. But the first time, they definitely believed.
But the question is, what afterwards? But that was before the Makkis. And then after the Makkis. You didn't have constantly, everything was that. Ben Amr must say, bro,
So the Nakuda. It says Vayamin Ha'am. It says that Eden were redeemed because of the merit of Amunah. It's clear.
those that didn't believe passed away in Shalosh Mechayla.
Anyway, so the Nakuda here is like this. The Nakuda here is the Rabbi explains this Amunah is Amunah that comes from the Etzem HaNefesh, from the essence of the Yid's soul. It's higher than intellect. According to intellect, there's no reason why they should believe they're ever going to get out of Mitzrayim. The Rabbi explains this Amunah Atzmis, this essential faith of Yidden, so to say, touch the level of godliness which is higher than nature. Because according to nature, according to Seder Ishtas, according to what David just set up the world, there was room for the attribute of judgment to say, why are the Yidden different than the Egyptians? And they also worship idols, whatever it might be. So you needed to awake a level which is higher than rational and Kedusha and holiness, so to say by David, that he shouldn't pay attention to any rational arguments why the Yidden shouldn't go out of Mitzrayim. How was that awakened? By the simple faith of the Yidden. But the Rebbe says this simple faith had to permeate the Yidden, not just the Fidik Rebbe says in the Sikh, it's not, Amunah doesn't mean you say I believe. Amunah means it permeates you. It had to permeate their whole existence. This was expressed in the blood of the Korban Pesach and in the blood of Milah. The blood of the Korban Pesach, the blood of Milah, the Rebbe says, means you take your physical flesh and you're attaching it with the Eibishter. And the blood of the Korban Pesach, the sheep, is something which is your bris milah, circumcision, is at least part of your flesh. Here you're taking an animal that's outside of you, and you're sacrificing the Eibishter with the belief that the Eibishter will take you out of Mitzrayim. So this is pshat, how the revelation of the neshama, the revelation of the faith of the Jews, despite the fact that maybe the Midas Hadin still had whatever, but their faith permeated them until it expressed itself in physical action through and through. So the way that Rebbe learns in the Sikha is, it's not just, before we were mentioning such a concept that just belief in Moshiach, hope, anticipation brings Moshiach. This particular Maimer Chazal, the way that Rebbe learns here, is a little bit of a different angle. It's that faith in a way that it permeates your koiches pnimiyim. In other words, there's an emphasis here that the faith shouldn't just remain in I believe it's going to happen, but that it expresses itself in your action. That causes that the Ava Atzmis, essential love of the Eibishter, which is higher than Seder Ishtasha, should also come down, but Ma'aseh Poel should be actualized physically to redeem the Yidden. So the Rebbe goes through this whole thing, and the Rebbe finished off in this Sikha. The Rebbe says that the same thing is in the future redemption. That not looking on the great concealment of Golus, when Yid has a munah pshut, a simple faith in the coming of Moshiach, that he's coming right now, that he's behind the wall, and the faith permeates all his inner koiches, his understanding, his emotions, even, in the Rebbe, so this brings Moshiach. And the Rebbe says, the Rebbe connects it through learning Chassidus. Chassidus gives a person the capability to bring the faith down into his intellect, and to bring it down, Yefusam and Nesecha Chutza. You're spreading the well springs outside, just like the Korban Pesach means a faith expresses itself into something outside. The person that brings Mashiach. In a similar way, but there's a bit of a fundamental difference. The Rebbe says the same part. There's a Kudei Sichos in Chelik Tezayin, and the Rebbe says a similar word. The Rebbe says in this Sicha, the Rebbe also uses the same thing, but the Rebbe connects it. The Rebbe doesn't focus here so much on faith in the Emunah, the faith in Mashiach. Obviously, it's not a contradiction, but in this here, the Rebbe's focus is saying the idea of faith in the Eibishter. Take the Emunah. By Yid, Emunah is higher than intellect. to take that emunah and to bring it down into chokhmah bina das, bring it down into intellect, that brings about Zigula. This is the idea of what the Alter Rebbe wanted with Chassidus Chabad, to bring down, the understanding of godliness in a way that it should permeate intellect. Let me just find this over here. Yeah. So the Rebbe goes through a whole thing with Moshe Rabbeinu and the Ovis. And Moshe Rabbeinu's inyan was, the Ovis had faith that not necessarily was connected with intellect. Moshe Rabbeinu's inyan was that Eden shouldn't just believe because they're sons of believers, but their faith should be the Eyamunah. It should be, it should permeate their understanding. This, and such a point, the faith permeates their whole existence, and through that they so. In other words, know that the Eden should be deserving going out of time. It's when the Emunah permeates their whole essence. That's the way the Rebbe explains in this particular place. The only what I would say is that in general, nothing to do with this particular Maimer Chazal, but the different explanations of the relationship of faith with Moshiach. There's really three different points you could say. One thing is, like I mentioned before, how the faith itself makes a person, that itself brings Moshiach. Another thing is, on a more balabatish note, when you have faith in Mashiach, you're going to do ma'asim tovim. You're going to do good deeds. Those good deeds will bring Mashiach. So even if you don't focus on the faith itself, so it's the merit that Rebbe speaks. I don't have time to go into the Maimer Chazal. The Rebbe explains that anticipating Mashiach, what are you anticipating Mashiach if Lamaila they say it's not the time, but because you anticipate Mashiach, it's going to cause you to behave in a way that Mashiach should come now. Another point here, I think, is the most, so to say, deepest, most fundamental, the Rebbe's, the most, so to say, demanding level, whatever. I mean, is that the Rebbe is explaining that it's how the essence of faith of a Yid permeates his entire existence. He lives with his faith. That is a direct connection with the Gula, because then the Yid is taking his connection to Eibishter and making it permeate his whole life. So that's what Mashiach is all about. Take it from me, Ad Mamish. You can feel fine.